Hi, it's TheHande again. Now, I don't usually do videos like this because there's really no information value in it, and some of you who are not really interested are going to probably find this really boring, so sorry about that. I'm going to think of something more entertaining for next week. But for now, this is a video that I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and I decided to finally get it out of my system. Now, if you've seen my top 10 Disney movies list, which you can see here in case you haven't seen it, you might have noticed something kind of weird about it. And no, it's not just the fact that Lion King's not on there. And before anybody says anything about why wasn't Lion King on my top 10 Disney movies list, I did address it in another video. I'm going to put a link here, but we're wasting time on this, so let's get to it. You might have noticed that I put both of the Goofy movies on there, and from this, it's easy to make a very logical leap. Yes, I'm a big fan of the Goof Troop, and I still am a big fan of the Goof Troop television series, and I really, really liked the Goofy movies. And I said it in that top 10, and this is what this video is about, that there needs to be a Goofy movie 3. But you know, it's easy for a fan to say, yeah, there needs to be a sequel to something or other. And you know, really the more important thing to ask is, you know, what would the sequel be about? And we'll get to that. But first I want to address a few things about Goof Troop and the Goofy movies that have come before. Now, I said it in that video myself that I kind of dismissed the first Goofy movie when it came out, and I don't understand why that is, because for a Disney television cartoon series like Goof Troop to be important enough to have a theatrically released film based on them, you know, that doesn't happen very often. The only other television series that ever happened to was DuckTales. Not only that, but then they went and made a straight-to-DVD sequel, which wasn't decent, it was actually pretty damn good. So they've been juggling around with Goof Troop, and you might wonder what exactly is the appeal of this heavily comedy-driven series. And I think I figured it out. It's taking a classic Disney character that's been done to death and just giving him a third dimension. Making him a single parent and taking Pete and making him a parent as well as being in this sort of rumbly marriage. And the Goofy movies took it to a new level by really focusing on the relationship between Max and Goofy. And really, the first movie was about Max having to sort of accept Goofy being his dad, and the second movie was really about Goofy having to learn to sort of let go of Max and kind of having to go off and live his own life. And even though I thought that a Goofy movie was really, really good, regardless of what anyone thinks of, say, the musical parts, which weren't really necessary, but I liked. But there was something about it that had us Goof Troop fans going, hey, wait a minute! Where were Peg and Pistol? That's really the biggest question that everybody has about a Goofy movie. And apparently the official explanation is that the people who made a Goofy movie forgot that these characters existed. But not to worry, creative negligence aside, there are actually feasible in-universe explanations for what happened to Peg and Pistol, and the most popular one, and I tend to agree with it, is that Pete and Peg had a divorce. Now, why on earth did Peg leave PJ with Pete? Well, I guess Max still needed a friend to be around, and it's not like Peg would have had a big role in a Goofy movie, considering the story was so much more about Max and Goofy, but it is kind of bizarre, because at least in the television series, Peg and Goofy at least had a very sort of a strong friendship going on the side. And I'm not suggesting anything lewd here, by the way. They were just friends. Okay, so fine, we've got an explanation for why Peg wasn't in a Goofy movie and the sequel, an extremely Goofy movie, but then they made the same mistake again with the leading lady from a Goofy movie, Roxanne. Yes, the girl that Max spent the entire movie learning that he had to just owe up to his feelings for her and just let it all out, and they left her out of the sequel. So they forgot about the female protagonist again. But not to worry, there is some hope for Roxanne, because there is this episode of House of Mouse where an adult Max is now working as a valet at this restaurant. Yeah, all that college education that clearly helped him out. Anyway, In this episode, he and Roxanne are on a date, and he's once again worried that his father is going to embarrass him, and the irony is of course, that everybody else except his dad is embarrassing him in this situation. So Disney hasn't entirely forgotten about Roxanne, and there is hope that if there ever was to be a third Goofy movie, then maybe there might be some way that these female protagonists would somehow find their way into that third Goofy movie. No what ifs or buts about it, they need to be in there, because Peg was an awesome character. I mean, she was the one who kept Pete in line. I know, how exactly would we bring her back? Well, we'll get to that. In fact, it's much more difficult to kind of justify what the hell happened to Roxanne, because beyond Max breaking up with her, there's really no logical explanation for why wasn't she in the sequel, except if she was doing like charity work in Africa, or is Max so absent-minded he forgot to tell, oh yeah, I'm going off to college. Well, he was very obsessed with his skateboarding stuff. Okay, it's time for me to play fantasy film director, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit because we haven't discussed the plot yet, but I would really want to take care of this problem at the very beginning of the movie, because really what I would want there to be is a situation where Roxanne just suddenly shows up, when Max has just gotten out of college, and she's very upset because she didn't tell him he was going off to college, and he goes after him, and a bunch of crazy cartoony stuff happens. I'm sorry, I'm bad at thinking of slapstick on the moment when I haven't actually seen what's going on. Well, anyway, they end up doing something crazy. Somebody falls, preferably Roxanne falls into Max's lap. He lets out his best Goofy laugh, and suddenly she remembers why she loves him. And that's how you solve things in cartoons. It's great because you don't have to make any sense. So finally we're getting to the story part. And really, what would the story be about? Because I don't think you can make a third Goofy movie about Max and Goofy's relationship, because it's been done to death. Yeah, how ironic is that? Well, anyway, in my view, Goof Troop has always been about fathers and sons, so there is another father-son relationship that has never really been explored to any depth. I'm of course talking about PJ and Pete, and this is where we get to the good part. So you might remember at the end of Extremely Goofy Movie, PJ hooked up with that crazy beatnik chick, and no, she doesn't have a name as far as I know. Well, after graduation, PJ and this beatnik chick have been going to different places, you know, visiting Paris and all that stuff, and they're, you know, they've had lots of good times. He comes back from this big trip that they've been taking. They visit Max and Roxanne, who are now living together, and the beatnik chick is pregnant. Yes, it's a shocker. Disney characters can actually get pregnant. But not only that, they're getting married. So obviously PJ is now plagued by the moral dilemma that he has to inform both of his parents that he's getting married, but he really doesn't want to tell his dad. Because we all know Pete is a greedy bastard who will take whatever situation and try to make profit off of it. This is how we get Peg back in the picture, because she has to be there to keep her ex-husband in line. And of course Pistol comes back as well, and I'm dreaming up of this weird scenario where she's now all grown up and hot, flirting with Max, and this makes Roxanne very, very angry. And the great thing is, once we get Goofy and Miss Marpole back into the picture, we got us a sizable cast of characters for lots of comedic purposes. I mean, who would not love to have Miss Marpole and Peg meet and somehow interact, or maybe even have a little conflict? And Goofy, of course, wants to help out with the wedding, but he's clumsy as shit, and it causes all kinds of havoc. The script really writes itself from this point onward. So we've addressed the major points, the actual plot setting, you know, what starts off everything. There's one thing, though, that I would really love for there to be in the third Goofy movie to just complete it. Because yes, they had it in the DuckTales movie, but not in the Goofy movies, and I was very, very disappointed. They did not have the theme song, the Goof Troop theme song. And there really should be a really awesome version of it made for the movie, because really the lyrics just reflect so well what this third movie would be about. Report to the Goof Troop, and we'll always stick together. We're the Goof Troop, best of friends forever. So if some Disney executive is watching this, or somebody affiliated with Disney has something to say about this, happens by this video, please do something that will make a Goofy Movie 3 a reality. But that's all from me for now. Thank you for watching. I'm TheHande. See you on the next one.